It's trash day, I'm putting you out, it's trash day. Putting you out, it's trash day. Putting you out of my mind. It's trash day, I'm putting you out, it's trash day. I'm putting you out, trash day. I'm putting you out of my mind. Now I'm gonna clean up, now I'm gonna clean up, now I'm gonna clean up the house. Taking all your garbage, taking all your garbage, taking all your garbage.
And welcome back to another edition of Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Mark the Mark Martinez, and the co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, the guy that's doing 75 podcasts in 1 hour, Mr. Michael Jenks.
Yeah, man. I just wanted to be the podcasting Iron Man, I think. Be everywhere at once. We'll see what happens.
I know. We literally just talked about this, and I stopped you because we both have so much going on, but we're getting nothing done. Right?
Yep, exactly. That's completely it, too. I mean, I mentioned to you before we started recording Can Crushers, I just finished up with the 40-year dash, little plug there. And then now I got to go upload it after we're done here. So it's moving fast and heavy here. And the other podcast that we're trying to do is not off the ground yet. We've got so much going on. There's just too much happening. I
know. And we're still trying to squeeze in college football, which we'll get to that. Because big news on the front of the studio of college football wise. But we're doing the same thing because my wife and I are getting the Martinez Lounge podcast started because we had it surfaced one way and then we're like, no, we're not going to talk about that all the time. We're going to talk about how Mark starts a fight at a wedding sometimes and says to his wife, bring me home. You can come back to this MFing wedding because I was in the mood and wanted to watch goddamn college football yesterday. So she brought me home, and she only got home at like midnight last night.
Oh, boy. So wait a minute now. So she brought you back home and then left you at the home.
Right.
And went back to the party. Wow.
Right.
Oh, man. I'm sure you've had a house full of silence this morning.
The only thing that has been said was, good evening. No, nothing. No. She's upstairs doing laundry. As soon as this is, because she'll respect the podcast because she knows. But as soon as this is over, I will get Hellfire and Brimstone from her. And then my now 15-year-old son will finally wake up and we can wish him a happy birthday because it's Ethan's birthday today.
Well, happy birthday, Ethan. I can't believe he's 15. My God.
I know, right? Hello, life.
Hello. Jesus. Hit you like a rail car. My God.
Yeah. So, 40-year dash. Jenks is one of the co-hosts there. This should have been a Moochie update, right?
It is a Moochie update, yeah.
Good.
Actually, a lot of good information on it. This little preview for everyone on Can Crusher Nation here. It's about the opening of an Irish dance school up in Erie. So, achieving goals for his wife as well as himself. So, pretty great episode.
Do you think he'll let me dance there one time?
I don't think it's the matter of if he'll let you. I think it's a matter of the Beck lets you. But I will say she has let him dance before, so I think anything is possible at this point.
Nice. Guys, that'll be released tomorrow. Make sure you jump on the 40-year dash. That's Jenks' other project. We've made him part of this project now, and who the hell knows? He's got a 4-pack of beer waiting for one project, and then he might be sitting on a lounge chair, too.
Yeah. They're all coming fast and furious, so I'm excited about it. So whatever happens, and let's do it. But when is let's go back to that. When's the Lounge of Love or the Martinez Love Lounge happening here?
It was supposed to be like 2 weeks ago, but because it's not my podcast, I have to learn how to say that. Our podcast designer, graphic person that my wife knows, had a couple issues, has the pre-work of the cool ass graphic done, just has to color it and do some things, but there's been some issues in his family, so we kind of just we're not pushing, because don't forget, we really don't have a path for this. This is going to be whatever Mark does wrong that week is going to get brought up on the podcast. and
I was going to say this week seems like it has a perfect opportunity to tackle a great issue.
We could record it and put it in the hopper, I'm sure. I'm sure, if we start talking after Ethan's birthday party. So, there's a lot going on today. Of course, most of it was want to watch. I hate doing anything Saturdays, Jenks. I'll give up all of today not to watch the Steelers and the Raiders or whatever football game's going on. But if I don't get my Saturdays, and I was just tired, I turned into a bear.
So, were you, I got to ask this now, how big of a bear were you yesterday? Because you were pushing on Penn State time towards the night. So how big of a bear did you become?
Well, I watched the rest of the game, the Pitt game, which was a 12 o'clock game, on the way to the wedding. Mm-hmm. I got pissed off because who the hell knew that Western Michigan was the next juggernaut of college football?
Them Broncos, man. I think it's the Broncos. Them Broncos will come for you.
They're coming for you. Did enjoy some of the wedding, talked to a couple people there. And then Friday night was a long night of high school football, only getting home at midnight. I also worked my shoot job going in at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I was really tired. Yeah, I was really tired. Got home, crashed. Didn't crash enough. It was just, throw a little bit of alcohol on top of it. I got home at kickoff for the Penn State game. And then the nail biting started because, wow, that was an amazing game there.
Yeah. The whiteout atmosphere, I think I forgot how great it was when there's a whiteout in Penn State at Beaver Stadium. That was breathtaking. And then the game itself was unreal. I was getting kind of pissed at the refs. I'm not an over the top Penn State fan. I do enjoy watching them in that, but those SEC refs were getting me hot and heavy last night, and I don't know why. But
they were horrible. They were, and I'm more of a Pitt fan than Penn State, but right. Penn State runs in my blood here in the family. Those were bad calls. Like at one point, there was a first down that was negated by maybe 3 inches. Some of the other calls, and I'm not saying just because they were just on Penn State, they were just blatantly horrible.
Yeah, and let me clarify that too, because they were just a bad ref crew last night. I did not think overall they did a great job of it, and I think that may have played a little bit into the game and the finish of the game, but at the end of the day, Penn State won. So take it for what it is.
I was down. My football game on Friday night was down in the very first Britsburg. I was down in Punxsutawney, and we had a stellar referee crew down there as well, as both radio stations were together in this nook in the wall, by the way. And it was late in the fourth quarter. Game was already over, but we're looking down and we're like, if you look where we're at, the first down marker is clearly beyond the ball. The other radio station said the same thing on the radio at the same time we did. So they took a measurement, and we both took 15-second breaks because we knew what we were saying. We're like, they didn't give them the first down. Even with the nose of the ball being past the chains, they didn't give them the first down.
Oh, my God.
It was a bad officiating crew the whole way around in football this week. Except, Jenks, on one thing. I've had an amazing officiating crew, because last week I told you I was ready to play NCAA for the last couple weeks. Shout out to the brother-in-law. Isn't playing the 360 anymore. And he had NCAA 14. He's like, take it for your studio, man. I've moved on. And I'm like, what? How can you move on from that? He's like, it's just done. We got the one. We don't even want the next one up there. He's fine. He's like, take the 360. I'm like, dude, you've heard me talking about this for 3 years. He's like, I'm still playing it a little bit. So I am 3-0, Jenks.
Oh, you're 3-0, and we have to tell the listeners who your team is, because it's not Western Michigan, but it's Eastern Michigan, which is just as random as hell as it can get.
Well, I wanted to start bottom of the barrel, and
Fair.
I just picked the 1-star teams. And I'm like, all right, Ethan, you're always involved in the game somehow. Not a huge football fan, but I make him just do stuff for me. So we went through all the 1-star teams. He's like, you like green. My name starts with E. Let's pick Eastern Michigan. And the highest ranked anything they have on that team is like a 62. So I swap, some of the schedule. I put Alabama 1, I put Ohio State, and then I'm in interconference games like kind of mid, and then I have at the end of the season I have another non-conference game. The first 2 games were rough. I won them both by 1 point, and luckily, I'm still playing on freshmen, because if it was on anything besides freshmen, my ass would have been beat. But then go ahead.
I was gonna ask that question. What level are you playing on? Because you played. So wait, was one of those wins against Bama?
Bama and Ohio State.
So that makes sense why you won it.
Right.
Now that you're on freshman, yeah, okay.
Yeah, because then when I play, because I'm in the MAC, of course, when I play Buffalo, my 3rd game, and it was just destroyer. So I think I can bump it up for my for my conference games. I can bump it up because they're bad teams. They really are.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. So you can go up to varsity, or what's the next one up above that? Probably varsity, right?
It goes varsity? JV, varsity, and then Heisman.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
I won't be playing anybody on Heisman until I am either Bama or somebody like that, because I'm still struggling. I was talking to you during the week as well. I don't like the recruiting process on this one. I don't remember it, so I think I spent all 5,000 of my points in like the first 2 weeks. I've offered every scholarship I've had, and the most I get is a 3-star athlete. So
yeah,
it's going to take a while to get it, but I'm gung-ho. I'm staying with Eastern Michigan until I get there.
That's probably solid. I mean, I think in mine, so I'm North Carolina, and I'm doing NCAA 13. I think I've only gotten about 3-star recruits right now, and usually it's like defensive linemen or offensive linemen. I did get a middle linebacker in the crew, but I will say I was playing Virginia Tech, and in 13, Virginia Tech was 9th in the nation when I was playing them. I literally sat on the ball the entire 4th quarter and then scored the go-ahead touchdown with like 10 seconds left, because I knew I was not going to win a shootout with Virginia Tech on that game.
What are you playing on?
I left it on JV or varsity, whatever that second level. Yeah, I was playing on that. I had a couple picks in that game, and that defense was stout. So I just sat on the ball for the entire 4th quarter.
In Carolina then is probably a 3-star school, right?
Yeah. I mean, they have on this game, they're a little bit higher than I thought they would be. And honestly, if I made better decisions, I probably would have won the 2 games I've lost so far. But yeah, they're about a 3-star school, so there's nothing too crazy going on with them. But I had broken into the top 25 last week in the game, and then I lost to Duke, who was on a 3-game losing streak. So that's telling you how that went very well. That was this morning, and I just hung up the controller and said, all right, I'm done with NCAA for right now.
Yeah, I have to podcast the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm. Podcast, and maybe for the rest of the week. We'll see what happens. I mean, that one hurt my ego a little bit. So
well, after we get back from the old dinner, well, it's more like a lupper, because Grandma and Grandpa are coming, and my aunt's coming, and Ethan wanted to go to Red Lobster, so we're doing a lupper in the middle of the day. So hopefully I can get back, and I don't know. I want to rack off some more wins, but we'll see. They're yeah. Knowing that you're playing on JV is disappointing a little bit though now, because now I might have to start over with a better. I have no running game. None. It is either me or you running, and that's not a good thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. If I was playing as Middle Tennessee State, which I've done before, or Eastern Michigan or something like that, I think I'd be in the same boat with you as freshman, because that'd be the only way I'd have a chance against any bigger schools. But I figured with North Carolina, I had to bump it up a bit. The quarterback's actually halfway decent. If I would make good decisions throwing the football, we'd be fine. But
there's
things happen.
No good decisions.
No, there isn't. There's none whatsoever.
So it's almost like going to the WWE product. No good decisions.
Hey, they had some good decisions this week. I'll give them props.
I agree. Prior to the podcast, like 2 seconds before we were going through the rundown, I'm like, no, we're not going to do this. We're going to save everything for on the air. 2 new champions and a wedding. And I'm excited about it.
What a movie.
That should be a movie. So let's just take the shows, Mark, is the word I'm looking for. The shows, and talk about the hot topics on each show. Kind of going to be a shorter show, not going to bump 2 hours, guys, that's for sure. So, because as Jenks and I talked about off air, again, we talked about a lot off air prior to the show and all week. It was a maintenance week for everybody, I think.
Yeah, overall it was. One of the championships that did get one, I was kind of surprised about. I didn't think it was actually going to happen. So if we're going to get into it.
Jump right into Raw. Go ahead.
I am not going to be sour that Big E is the champion. I will say that right now. Like, they advertised it beforehand, but this was fantastic, actually. And I'm back saying fantastic again. This was, honestly, Mike, this put a smile on my face. It kind of seemed like it was coming. They're trying to boost ratings. There's a lot of things behind it, but I really enjoyed Big E becoming the WWE champion.
I agree, because last week we were trying to pinpoint how he was going to get through Roman, or maybe Balor won it, and, we get the lead up that it ends up back on Roman or anything, and they all throw a swerve. Literally Monday afternoon, Big E says on social media, hey, by the way, I'm coming to Raw tonight. I'm probably cashing in the championship, the Money in the Bank. Well, I'm like, oh no, that means he's going to be one of the guys that doesn't win it when he cashes in. That's what I thought right off the bat.
But I mean, I guess it was a smart decision to move him to Raw, because to that point, you have Roman, you have Finn, you have Brock in the wings, and they had announced that Brock was going to take on Roman. I think prior, or at least after that, he was going to take on Roman at the Saudi show. So that could be for the Universal title, which that just hurts me with the Demon and all that. But I think this was the logical step for Big E. He was just capped on SmackDown, so they had to move him to Raw. And now you have Big E and the New Day potentially taking over Raw. So.
Yeah, I'm hoping, because the draft is, 2 weeks away. It's the week after Extreme Rules is when they're going to do the draft. I hope they don't split them up. I don't think it worked as well as the WWE was thinking it was going to get in the huge pop. You need all 3 of them together. I mean, even if one's off on an injury, they're still there. They're making reference to it. But when there's only one New Day on each show, because Woods was hurt for a while and it was just Kofi, and then Big E's over on SmackDown, you just didn't get the pop. The 3 of them back together, now with Big E being champion, that opens up actually more on Raw that I'm interested for, because we've already heard that Goldberg is coming back at some point, and I bet you it's going to be the Saudi show, just to say. He wants Lashley. Good. They don't have to fight over the championship. Let Lashley get through that, and if you want to conquer Big E again, cool. But there's more for Big E to do on Raw.
Agreed. I do have some concerns, though, because something in my gut's telling me Big E is going to defend this title at the Saudi show, and it's going to be against Goldberg, and he's going to lose the title.
Ugh.
And then that's going to kick off Lashley and Goldberg over the title. I don't like it, but I could see them doing that. And that pains me to say, but they've done it before. They buried the Fiend. Well, they didn't bury the Fiend, but it happened with the Fiend, with Goldberg beating him for the title, and it hurt the Fiend's character to some extent.
Yeah.
So I guess that's leading into the fear that they put it on Big E for that big pop to get the ratings, because AEW has beaten Raw in the ratings demographics the past 2 weeks. So they needed the pop for Big E to win the title. Now Saudi show, they could change it back.
Oh, it makes sense and it's depressing.
Yeah. So that's not the power of positivity I wanted to bring. So I'm gonna rein him in here. Let's be positive about WWE.
Okay. I love the Flair and Shayna match as well. Prior to Nia getting involved, and we knew this was going to happen. Everything after the match of Nia and Shayna being involved was 1 too long when Alexa came out, and 2 absolutely stupid.
Yeah, and I'm wondering now if they're going to have a doll versus doll match at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view during the title match. It just feels like Charlie versus Lily at this point.
Do you think it's going to be like marionettes?
I would think so. Or they're going to try to interrupt the match and take out Charlotte. I don't know. I think there's going to be some craziness happening with these dolls at the Extreme Rules. Which, I mean, it was the horror show last year, so maybe it'll help. Maybe they'll take an eye. I don't know. It's happened before on the horror show Extreme Rules.
Yeah. Last thing I want to talk about on it is I forgot Tamina and Nat were women's tag team champions because Jenks, since the last time the Iconics had the championship, so that's how long ago, I forgot about these. I know Bayley and Sasha had them, but there was also so much animosity between those two that they were both champions at the same time. I forgot about these champions, and there was, I don't know if it was a botch on, Nikki being actually hurt, and I hate the word botch, or if somebody on the whole production side hit the wrong sound, or if the ring announcer just announced Tamina is the winner. Like, something happened in that match that was weird, because normally when they have one-on-one matches between, the tag teams, one person of one team wins one person of the other one wins the other, so there's kind of still that storyline. Essentially, last week, Nikki and Rhea beat the tag team champions, and this week in solo matches, Nikki and Rhea beat the tag team champions. So how do they get the spin in a couple weeks that they're not going to win the tag team championships?
I don't know, but I also have this lingering question, because go back last month, Shotzi and Nox beat the tag team champions and never got that championship match.
Right.
So why are we moving to Nikki and Rhea getting the title match, which is fine, but you can't steer away from that. You can't say Tamina and Natalya are going to retain at Extreme Rules or whenever they face. It's not going to happen.
I wouldn't think.
I wouldn't think either, but you know what? I've been wrong before. But I still have questions around why we built up Shotzi and Nox beating the tag champs and then not giving them that title shot. At least they'll have them lose clean so that you can move on to this Rhea-Nikki title opportunity. I don't know. But I have a lot of confusion around how this is going to play out in any way other than Nikki and Rhea winning the tag titles.
Yeah. The downfall of them winning the tag titles to me is, one was just your, they were both Raw champion within the last 6 months. And not that it's a delegrate, that they're downgrading them or whatever, but they're still trying to push Rhea is this monster. And now it's clearly a comic tag team that I've never been a fan of. Ripley, I don't know. But I just can't take her serious at all anymore.
I can't take her seriously. I am a fan of Rhea. I loved what she did in NXT. I believe the monster gimmick in NXT, but when she moved to Raw, they've really watered her down a bit from the dominance that she showed in NXT.
Yeah, last year's WrestleMania, losing to Flair clean.
That I think was the turning point for me, because why did she lose to Flair? And that should have been her defining moment to move forward and progress forward. I didn't understand that loss to Flair. And I think the other part to that is they don't even count the NXT title win for Flair as a world championship win.
No.
I don't know if you noticed that. Her count has gone down because they took that title win out.
Yeah.
So that diminishes that product as well as diminishes what Rhea has been doing leading up to this. So And honestly, this booking around two former champions going after the tag titles, this is very reminiscent of when they ran a similar programming where they just throw two people together to win the tag team championships for the men's. It was all throughout the 2010s you saw it. I mean, it didn't matter who they were. They just threw them together and had them win the titles. Or if you look at Cena and Shawn Michaels back in '07, they won the tag titles thrown together when they were in the middle of their world title feud. It's like they don't have the respect on the tag title name, and they're just throwing people together to make it work. And to this point, to your point earlier, this is more of a comedic tag team. So are they trying to build an entertainment factor around it? I don't know.
I would think, yeah. The English professor always brought it up that Vince has never been a tag team fan. You know, It was his dad that loved the Bulldogs and the Hearts and, even the Bolsheviks and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But Vince has never been. Vince likes one thing, and it's Roman, Drew, Brock. Yeah. He likes the big man. You throw the little guy in there. Shawn might have been one of the ones that slid through that Vince liked. But when was the last person? Kofi's title reign was hot garbage, essentially.
Yeah, and I mean, to that point, the only two little guys that have really broken through were Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. Because Bret Hart, in the mid-'90s, you couldn't get any better. And it was just on pure talent alone that you couldn't hold down Bret Hart during that time frame. But I think you're right. He likes the bigger guys, the guys that you can build and market around that stand out and have that bigger personality. Just look at John Cena, Hulk Hogan. It's the same thing, cut and paste every 10 years. Not saying they're the same person or they can't wrestle or anything like that. It's not going to that level, but it's somebody they can market around. It's a face that they can market.
Yep.
And that people will be drawn to.
Anything else on Raw that you want to bring up?
Nah, nothing else on Raw. Like you said earlier, it was pretty straightforward. Nothing too interesting was going on or happened.
And SmackDown, we'll go to NXT after SmackDown because I do have a few things to say about it, especially the wedding.
Yeah.
And another championship that happened to pop up during the week as well. But the bloodline starts, and you still are getting the whole thing about Roman really not trusting Paul. And we get Big E instantly back over on SmackDown as him and Balor take on the Usos and pretty much make short work of them.
Yeah, that was an interesting twist. And I'm wondering if they're going to have Big E bounce between brands until the draft happens. And if that's the case, is it building up to move some of the bigger players off of SmackDown to Raw so that the flagship show can get more ratings in it? So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out over the next couple months. But to your point, Big E and Balor were made to look strong on SmackDown.
I will still wave the flag as, yes, we know that Raw is a flagship show, but Fox has way too much money invested. I think you're going to see like Rollins come back over to SmackDown because Becky's there, and you know how Rollins is on SmackDown. I don't know what the hell
Rollins
I was
is on
saying.
SmackDown.
Yeah.
What are you doing there?
I don't know.
Have you broken into the Maker's Mark already?
No, I am not.
Okay.
Not in this week. I had a few beers last night. Nothing bad. No, I think there's going to be more moves actually to make SmackDown stronger, actually. I mean, not that it's a stronger one. I don't know. That was it for me, kind of, on SmackDown. I didn't really care. Like, out of nowhere, you're going to get a Liv and Mella match because you might have a broken nose. They both like Capacana wine. I mean, I don't know why this match is coming out, just to fill holes on Extreme Rules, I think.
Possibly. I will say the Seth and Edge match I will be very interested in. I want to see what they do with it, though. What is it going to be? Is it going to be last man standing? What's this one final match that's going to come up? I think I'm invested in that.
I don't think it's going to be at Extreme Rules.
You don't?
No, I think it's going to be because I've read some places that Edge is taking off for a little bit before he comes back. You might get this next match. I would hate actually to see Rollins and Edge at Extreme Rules because that would steal the show over everything else.
Right.
I think they hold off until possibly Rumble for this.
I think if they hold off till Rumble, why not push it to Mania and have Edge cost Rollins the Rumble match? I think at
that
that
would be
point.
fine too. Yeah. Like Edge's Rollins is left at number 29 or something, and Edge just attacks the shit out of him.
Yeah, just ends his night. He doesn't even make it to the ring. I think that would be. I think if they extend it that long, and I didn't see Edge was taking time off, so that actually makes out. Rollins and Edge should be at WrestleMania if it's going to happen again. It's a WrestleMania caliber match. Why not extend it to there?
Yeah, yeah. They made a point to say, hey, he's taking, he's healing his wounds. I mean, he just had his neck brace on again last week. So,
right.
This shouldn't even be brought up, but are you a fan of Rick Boogs?
I don't mind Boogs, but I don't like that he took away Elias's gimmick, and now Elias is stuck in purgatory trying to figure out what he's going to do next. Yeah. I find Nakamura's entrance always entertaining. I think it's better with Boogs. I like the live guitar and Pat McAfee dancing like an idiot, but wrestling wise, hit or miss. I'm not too big on his wrestling abilities. I know you hate him. You don't like Boogs at all.
Not at all. I hate him. And then end SmackDown, we have Kane come out doing a big to-do for Bianca Belair, and Becky kind of puts her to the table again and says, peace out, bitch.
I love it. I don't know. So I guess, first of all, I'm a huge fan of the man. I love Becky Lynch, but I also love Belair. I love what she's been doing. What is the meaning of this? Is it that Becky's exposing the naiveness of Bianca and the
That's what I got. Things? That's exactly what I got. That she's still dim-witted a little bit and young, with the air quotes around young, in the business.
Which, if that's it, and since you got that too, so I'm thinking this is actually a smart play here for Belair, because it's smartening her up over the course of time. Does that mean she takes the title off of Becky at Extreme Rules? I don't think so. But I think at some point this will catch up, and she will become. At some point, they're going to revisit this rivalry, and she's going to overtake Becky for the title. I don't think it's at Extreme Rules, though.
I don't either. I really don't either. I think Becky needs to be the forefront right now of that SmackDown division, and let her run for a while. I do not want Belair to win back-to-back Royal Rumbles, though, if this is where we're going to get it set up. Maybe it can happen next year, because there's other players sort of kind of that Becky can just wean through, and by then you'll have a returning Bayley as well.
Yeah, I don't think necessarily Belair will win the Rumble, but I think this sets up Becky. I think at some point she takes the title off of Becky. When that is, it could be next summer, it could be whenever. I don't think Belair's set up for the next Rumble win.
Good. Yeah, I don't either. I don't either. Plus, you're going to see, if they're doing Survivor Series like the way they've been, I think Becky Flair puts more asses in seats just because of the names. Because I personally don't think Alexa's winning it. And, next week when we do our predictions or in 2 weeks, when we do our predictions for Extreme Rules, I don't see Alexa beating Flair. Spoiler.
Yeah, I don't either, unless they're trying to do something crazy, but I don't think that's going to be the case. That just doesn't make any sense at this point.
None. So, Jenks, I actually took the time this week and I watched NXT. Due to the little note that was put out earlier in the week that Samoa Joe is not cleared to defend his title and he's not going to be a champion like that. So he instantly gave the title up. So one, do you think it's a work?
I think there's a work because it was too convenient of timing that we're rebranding NXT and he got injured. I think they had a designated person to put it on, and I think they said, Joe, we want you to kayfabe an injury here.
Yeah, I think so too. It was perfect. He can rebuild. He can do whatever. I do like the arena that the NXT has. It's now nice and cush and just kind of more focused, like fan-friendly. I like that it's a circle for some stupid-ass reason. I don't know why, but I like everything they're doing with that. But with as much as, and I hate to say this because they're all better than me, the product now to myself seems a little watered down. And I think it would have been a perfect time, because we're going to fast forward, to put the title on Kyle O'Reilly instead of Ciampa, because we've talked about Ciampa not needing it, and it would have made Kyle a great flag bearer for this new division right now, in my mind.
Yeah, it seemed like they went with the safe, and I love that Ciampa's a champion, but I think they went with the safer option here to kick off. I wouldn't mind O'Reilly. I wouldn't mind Pete Dunne taking over, because I think Pete Dunne would have just elevated the title as well, because Pete Dunne is just good in his own right.
Yes.
Good. That's underselling him. He's great in his own right. So I'm not sure why they took Kyle O'Reilly out of the match to begin with, though. Von Wagner or whatever. I don't know. I didn't understand that. I guess I don't know who this is and why he's getting such a big push to begin with.
Yeah, and then to have LA Knight lose to Rick Steiner's son, which WWE is not allowed saying Rick Steiner. So they're calling him Braun Breaker. But he dresses exactly like the dog-faced gremlin in WCW days. That might actually be Rick's singlet. I don't know.
It probably is, but
I like him because of that, and I want to see what they do with him. But because he's a big guy, I think he could be somebody in time that leads this NXT as well.
I think he fits the mold that they're looking for, in the sense of the bigger guy could be marketed around. I guess we have to see how he does in promos and selling and all of that, but he's off to a good start. But yeah, at some point he's going to be a flag bearer. I don't think it's going to be within the next year or so, but I think he's got a couple years to get under his belt here. But
and then we get a lot of mid-level matches. If you want to bring up any, that's fine. The next thing I want to talk about is the wedding. So do you want to talk about any match?
You know what? No matches. I will say that I did appreciate what this Creed Brothers team brings to it. I think they'll be interesting to watch going forward, because I want to see, because they've been bringing in a lot of more grounded, beat 'em up style guys, we'll say, and I want to see where this Creed Brothers team goes for. They're very punishing. I guess it was local talent this week, but I'll be interested to see how they build as a tag team.
Yeah, and then the Mandy transformation. I don't know. I've always expected more from Mandy from the main brand, and she kind of, the Otis Mandy killed Mandy, so I think sending her back down to NXT to become a bitch, I think helps out.
I think this is it'll build her back up. Agreed. I'll be interested to see where it goes, though. Do they who are the women's tag team champions in NXT anyways? I totally forgot. Is it still Zoe and Io?
Yeah.
I think right now. Okay.
Well, we haven't seen them in forever.
That's exactly it. And I'm wondering if that'll build her team up of who she has, of Gigi Dolan and JC Jane, if that builds them into that title picture, if Mandy's going to go after it, or what role Mandy's going to play. I think Mandy's going to be the bigger player and play the women's title picture, but be interesting to see.
I like that tag team too. There's just something about them. I mean, I don't know them a lot, but their gimmick caught me on Tuesday night, which was actually Friday morning after work when I watched it. But I
won't tell anybody.
Yeah, their little gimmick was like, oh yeah, I actually like that. But the big part of NXT, this was a great wedding. It wasn't Savage Elizabeth's wedding, but it was definitely better than Triple H and Stephanie. The comic of this and Gargano, I think, actually stole the show until Dexter finally talks. I like this. I was a sucker for weddings, and this was a good one.
This was a great wedding. It made sense. It ended very well. And nobody really interrupted too much about it. But Gargano, again, he's always a star. Gargano is the best to make any situation funny or entertaining. I love the whole jacket reveal where Dexter had an axe underneath his jacket.
Thank
in
you.
his jacket. I thought that was fantastic. And then the look on where they're trying to find the rings, and it was randomly with Ekman. I'm like, this was just perfect. And I love the I do and the Glamazon losing it. It was beautifully done. It was a beautifully done wedding.
I want to know what they're going to do with them now. I really do. Indy Loomis, is she going to take his last name? Because it sounds all right. It does.
It does. I don't know. Maybe they just roll with Index or something. I don't know. That's a great question. What if she just, Indy Loomis would be an interesting title. But I guess where does it go from here? How do you build the wedding? Is it just for entertainment factor? Is there going to be a payoff match with someone else at this point? What's going to happen here?
I see. Well, we can't have Candace because we all know Candace is pregnant.
Right.
I see maybe if they're still all in NXT, I think in time, Gargano and Loomis have their battle again, and Indy has to pick a side between her best friend and her husband. And, like, I'm not saying it was a bad timing for Candace to get pregnant, because that's wrong to say in life in general. So, congratulations. But bad timing in wrestling, because this, I think, could have been a great little, nobody needs to be going after a championship at all or anything like this, but you're having that legit Days of Our Lives type of storyline, which gets people invested.
Yeah, and honestly, it's not going to be like the traditional storylines they've had, because I think Gargano can make this entertaining and make it something that a lot of people will like and not roll their eyes at, like with Lashley and Lana. That was just absurd and ridiculous. But I think this is going to be entertaining, and it's going to be something great. I would love to see the next takeover. It could be Loomis and Gargano with Indy as the referee. That would be an interesting twist on it. I mean, for Candace, congratulations on being pregnant and having a child. I think that's the next logical step here. And I think that could have been the next logical step all along. I don't think you have to have that tag team match unless they wanted to split them apart. So that's my thought on it. I did want to ask you, though, did you see the gender reveal video that they had out between the Garganos?
I did not.
But that was entertaining and hilarious as well. I think anybody should watch that. They posted it on their social media, so just go out there and look at it. But in hindsight, it doesn't go the way Candace wants it to. So I'll just leave that out there. Let you watch that.
Oh, I'll watch it as soon as we get done. As I'm editing this, I'll have to watch that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. Both shows, all three shows, like I said, were, I don't want to say filler, because I think they were better than filler shows. They were just moving stuff along for pay-per-views down the line. So at least I feel WWE is stepping their game up a little bit. Not as much as the next company we're going to talk about here after the break.
Fair enough.
But we have to talk about one thing. Collar and elbow, hats, hoodies, tees, sweats, eye patches, vests, all the cool stuff that Al Snow has out there. Released earlier this week. If you haven't seen it, check out the thumbnail or go to collarandelbow.com. They have made a Daphne shirt. You've heard both of us talk about Daphne in deep detail about how that day kind of affected us. Well, this shirt, all the proceeds are going to Boston University to do work on CTE. So that is amazing. Head over to collarandelbow.com, buy all your cool shirts. This might be one, Jenks, I've always said this, that I'm not one to buy a specialty shirt. What's the word I'm thinking of? Homage shirt, maybe.
Right.
This one going to CTE, it definitely makes a big deal for me.
It would, since it's going to a great cause, I think I would definitely go into it more. I've done it in the past with other wrestlers, but benefiting CTE research and that, it's definitely worth the investment. Especially being a Daphne fan myself. So
yeah. Guys, when you check out from Collar and Elbow, use our promo code. It's Can Crushers, all one word. Capital C in Can, capital C in Crushers. You'll get 10% off I will say, if you're just going over to buy the Daphne shirt, don't use our promo code. If you're buying other stuff, cool, use our promo code. But if it's just the Daphne shirt, because the more you'd be giving us money then for that or anything like that, don't do the discount when you're buying a homage shirt. Like that tribute shirt is the word I'm actually looking for. Don't use it. Give all the money to the right places. Have it be Shad, Bobby Eaton, Animal, or Boston University. So, all right, Jenks. Al Snow's coming, but you're coming in hot because you got a new shirt as well that we'll talk about once we talk about AEW, right?
Oh, yeah, baby. Yep.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
Can crushers. They don't have this in Sparta. What is this? A podcast. That's cool. I'm gonna do that. Nikita Knight can be on a podcast, right? I know I'm new, but I can be on a podcast.
And welcome back to Can Crushers, baby. It is time to talk about AE-Dubs, because that's where it is. It really is. And we led you astray. Jenks, tell us about this fantastic shirt you got.
I can't give away the farm in a little preview. I got to do a swerve. That's how wrestling works. And I was one of the fools that broke Pro Wrestling Tees last month with the CM Punk order t-shirts. I got a Best in the World t-shirt, not the ringer one, the one with the black collar and the black armbands and then all white. But I got the other CM Punk shirt. I broke it. It took me 2.5 days to get in. Late Sunday morning, I finally broke in and got the shirt and got a sticker that says Best in the World. I couldn't pass it up.
And it took 2 weeks to get to your house then, huh?
It literally just came, what was it, yesterday or Friday when I sent that to you? I think, yeah, it took about 2-3 weeks. And they had posted on their website, I think, about a week and a half ago that orders were delayed because such of the large volume coming in around CM Punk and to that point, Adam Cole baby, those were piling up as well. So it was taking a little bit longer for them to get delivered.
It's amazing that Pro Wrestling Tees got you something faster than me. Sending you something.
Yeah, they did it in 2 weeks with their site breaking. I've been waiting, 5 months, 4 months, something like that?
Not been
months?
5 months, you ass. It's definitely been 3. But I have to get it out now within 2 weeks because you have your episode coming up where you tell everybody, what is the word I'm looking for? Why am I struggling so much today?
Update. I would update, yeah. Yeah. Well, but here's the thing. You said that about 4 weeks ago, too.
I know.
They had to get it to me before, and it didn't happen. So, if it happens, it happens. Or if it's not, it's the Moochie Godfather episode. So that's all it is.
Well, right. But I definitely want you to knock this one off before the Godfather. That's never going to happen.
He's adamant it'll be in the next 6 weeks. So we'll see what happens with that. But I guess 8 weeks right now. But I doubt it.
Right. All right. AEW starts, and get ready. I might get some hate. Punk is on commentary for the night. And I know it sets up something down the line, but sometimes a little bit is more. We've had Punk now doing something since the day that he's returned on every show. I love him. I have a tattoo of him. We wave the Punk flag. Max is waving the Punk flag. But just to bring him out on commentary, I think is stretching it a little bit too much.
I thought they had gold with that. I think he was a little more reserved than he usually is. And I don't know if that's just experience and age, but usually I would have expected a little bit sharper tongue out of him, because there's some instances over the course of Dynamite that I thought he could have chimed in and been his sharper tongue self, but he didn't do it. So I don't know if he was just reserved or if it's just with age he's become more mellow about it. But it didn't. It was fine. It was good. It did set up something down the line, but I was hoping for a little bit more out of him. A little bit more angst, I guess.
Maybe he got told to calm down when he elbowed the guy in the first row when he stage dove on him. Did you see that guy go down?
I did. Now, did you see there was a second video from another guy in the crowd recording him coming in hot? And you can see it a little bit better on that one, too.
Yeah.
It happens. I mean, well, that's what you're going to get when you're in the middle of a mosh pit at that point. Just stage diving and all that. Elbows are going to get thrown, Mark.
It was great. But I, at one point, in a split second, I'm like, holy shit, he's not going to make this. He did. He tucked his legs and he elbowed the guy in the face. But I'm like, shit, man, maybe you should not jump from 25 feet away because you are a little bit older. You are not Darby Allin or Griff Garrison or somebody like this. Calm your jets.
Maybe that guy owed him money. We don't know the backstory here. Maybe that's setting up an angle here, and he had to deliver the elbow.
Right. It was definitely a Macho Man elbow.
Yeah, it was. Oh, it definitely was. He was aiming.
They start off Jenks Dynamite with the match of the week for me. Adam Cole and Frankie Kazarian. Just everybody in AEW knew who Adam Cole was because they know the ROH Adam Cole. They know the NXT Adam. They just know the indie Adam Cole and everything. They let these two go, and they said, put on an entertaining match. And Jenks, this, if it wasn't for other ones, this could be up there with a match of the year candidate. I really enjoyed it that much.
It was a great match. I mean, Frankie Kazarian, Adam Cole, obviously you can't mess with. Kazarian, I think, is a little underrated in terms of how great of matches he has. This didn't surprise me at all. It surprised me it started tonight. I would have expected this to be the main event because I think this is two high-level talents. Take it off. I get why they did it the way they did it, but again, to your point, it was the match of the night, and I think it stole the show for the entire night.
And then we get story time with Adam Cole, and
of course,
that was awesome. Hope is dangerous, and no one's going to keep him down. The Super Elite want to take out Jurassic Express next week on Super Duper Rampage from Arthur Ashe Stadium, and okay, that's cool. And a melee breaks out between everybody. So, big things coming this week, I think, on both shows, though. And I don't want to speculate. I want to keep them all to say I was either right or horribly wrong. But that's next week's show.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to do next week because this is 4 hours that I'm just going to be over the top. I think there's a lot of great things that are going to happen next week in 4 hour sprints. And one we'll talk about later on.
Yeah.
Has me over the top. Actually, a lot of these have me over the top, but that, man, next week's going to be an interesting week to say the least.
Fuego del Sol says he's going to put up his new car to take on Miro on Rampage. He wants the title. Sammy's like, yeah, do it. So that was whatever. That led us to Friday, and we'll get there. But the next big thing, Jenks, I want you to run with this because that was the first thing you said to me when we started the podcast today off air. Golden Pipes MJF.
I don't know what the J stands for, but MJF right now is motherfucker because Jesus.
Jenks. Mother Jenks fucker.
Mother Jenks fucker. I don't know what, but my God in heaven, MJF heat is nuclear right now. And I'm loving and I'm eating every minute of it up because this, I watched the clip before we got on the podcast, Mark, in my 20 minutes that I had between recordings. I don't even know how to describe it. You going basically in New Jersey, trashing town, General Mill, like that's standard stuff. Taking it to that next level with Pillman and starting that he's in heaven and then ending up on the ground saying he's in hell and just trashing Brian Pillman Jr. again. MJF is the best talker in the industry right now. Yeah. Entire industry. Best heel worker. The heat is nuclear. I love every minute of him talking. And he honestly, you said it before the podcast, he doesn't have to wrestle anymore. He can just talk. And it'd be hook, line, and sinker every week.
Yeah. Pillman has done some work around our area with IWC, or I've seen him in OVW. You know, he's been doing some indie shows prior to being fully signed with AEW. And no disrespect to him.
Right.
I wasn't huge thinking, wow, he is his dad. He's not his dad yet. But I do see the potential. Working with MJF already in the 2 weeks, you know, having his sister be rated, and congratulations, they did have the baby, because MJF put the sister into labor, apparently.
Yeah.
Great work on that, especially on the socials. But Pillman has now already stepped up his game. Like, I'm feeling, wow. All right, you gave him Griff for a while. You know, you brought him in as the Blondes, and Julia came along, and they're still together and everything. But I think if you want to exceed to push Pillman over that edge of giving him a TNT title shot down the line or something big, build him bigger, they're rolling money with this right now.
They are, and I think this speaks to Pillman Jr. has impressed me over the months because, you know, when I first saw him with Griff, it was hit or miss. It was what it was, but he has really grown and has done tremendous work, and I'm really excited to watch him wrestle MJF next week. And I like what he's doing in the ring. I know I keep going back to MJF, but MJF is playing the best heel possible because he's building the talent as he goes.
Yeah.
If we talk about...
And he's young, Jenks. Remember that he's still young in the business.
He's only 23, 24 years old, and he's building talent as he's going forward like a heel should be doing. I mean, if I go back, I think it was last year, him and Jungle Boy had what was probably the match of the night on the pay-per-view. I think it was Top Gear or Gear, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Full Gear. I don't know why. I know why I said Top Gear. But Full Gear.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah. But they had a match of the night. They stole the show that night because it was so good. MJF knows not only how to talk and get the heat, but how to build people up. And it's forcing Pillman to step up and really bringing light to his talents and how good he can be. And he can only go up from here, from a feud with MJF. He could lose, and he'd still be one of the popular wrestlers in the back. With the fans. And I think it's just going to be, it's interesting to see. And I'm excited for this match next week to see what the emotion Pillman Jr. has versus MJF just being MJF at this point.
Agreed. I want to, down the road, because there's two other great talkers that just recently been brought into AEW. I want to see when Adam Cole turns face, because it'll happen in time, because he's just way too hot. Him and MJF doing some promos, but once Punk gets his tongue back underneath him, I think Punk and MJF having a 6-8 week just banter is money there too. But none of those have to happen for a while.
No, they got time. They have a lot of time to do that, and I would love to see that as well. When it happens, it can happen a year down the road, and I'll be happy to see it, because by that time, Punk will be back on the top of his game, and it'll just be pure money at that point. They'd be printing money.
Yep. Next match, I don't know if you want to go into Dante Martin and Seidel against FTR. FTR to me has lost a little bit, and it's not because of the injury, just something has gone wrong with them in my book. I don't know why.
That's interesting because, FTR to me I should compare it their AEW work to each other, because if you go in that aspect, I could see that. But FTR is just I'm an absolute fan, and I love their tag team wrestling. I love everything they do in the ring with it. And for some reason, again, they have hooked me into why I'm excited to see Sting and Darby Allin and Tully Blanchard, all of these guys start getting into fights with each other. I don't know why. I'm excited for Sting and Darby Allin versus FTR next week because I'm just a big fan of FTR. I think they I think there was a couple things that were missed over the past couple weeks, and it could be just getting timing back. Because to your point,
that might be my issue.
The injury probably has probably limited some things right now, and once they get timing back, they'll be off and firing again at all cylinders.
Cody returns and attacks Malachi. I'm excited about this. I really am. People say Cody, should stay back a little bit. I don't know. I think Cody does enough to keep himself out, but then comes back for something big. And I will say this, that Malachi is going to wipe his face everywhere and get the huge win. And then we might not see Cody for a little bit longer again.
Yeah, I like the way Cody's being used because it's not putting him too much in the spotlight, and he's building up talent. He's getting the good rivalries going and letting them win. It's not like he's putting himself over week to week to week.
Right.
And I don't know how you liked it. I did like the little twist with Rosario Dawson getting a little bit of a cheap shot in on cheap choke in on Malachi there. I thought that was a good start to the brawl, but letting them brawl through the crowd, fantastic. I loved how they did that. I agree. Malachi's going to wipe the floor with Cody. Cody Rhodes is not going to win. If he does, I would be very unhappy about that because I think that could hurt Malachi's build.
Yeah.
Even though he's a great talker, he's a great performer. I think that would hurt him. So Malachi's going to wipe the floor with Cody, but it's made it interesting to watch the next match.
Your homeboy Don Lambert's on the mic again, and
hey, I got excited. They finally have something for them to do. Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. I know I interrupted you, but they finally got them something to do.
See, exactly. I was excited that they brought Paige Van Zandt this week.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
yep.
Hello, Paige. Jericho and Hager taking on the Men of the Year. Jenks, I think the Men of the Year have to take care of business against Jericho and Swagger. They don't lose anything. Swagger is kind of a punching what the hell do you call those things? Punching bag for the Inner Circle. I don't think Jericho takes a loss. I think Hager does.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some sort of MMA angle in this next week. I think because Jake Hager has that background, I think they're going to do something with Junior Dos Santos or Andre Arlo Fresky, however you pronounce his name. I think they attack Hager at some aspect, and I think it sets up for the unclean win by Sky and Page, because you don't bring out these MMA fighters and then insert Jake Hager, who has fought in MMA before,
right,
into a match with each other without an angle or something happening with that. So I think there's going to be some little bit of hinkiness going on next week when this match goes down.
I hope Paige returns. I'll just say that.
And she might. You never know. You were really excited about Paige's return here.
I am. I love me some Paige Van Zandt. I am the one that I'll not know what else is going on in a bare knuckles fight and spend $49.99 to watch a Paige Van Zandt fight at 1:00 in the morning, and then I'm like, oh shit, she lost.
Fair enough. That's fair. Fair enough.
Yeah. Cargill against Layla Hirsch. Yeah, this was a match, but essentially it set up for what happened after the match, and they weren't even involved.
Yeah, I mean, I did like that Layla Hirsch had a little bit more offense against Jade Cargill in this. We knew what the outcome was going to be, but it was nice, a little bit refreshing to see that Hirsch got a little bit more into this and made it a little bit more like Jade could lose it. It really wasn't in doubt, but to your point, after the match, without them involved, was where the real meat of the segment was.
Yeah, Taz and his boys come out and just throw CM Punk through a table.
That table looked bad. That table bump looked bad. Punk looked like he got hurt on that one.
Yeah.
Table didn't give. I don't know if they were using one of those white Lifetime tables that Bill's Mafia don't use, but it hurt him. It didn't feel good. But yeah, Hobbs hurled Punk through the table. Yeah, it was a nice setup for what's going to come next week between the two. So
yeah, these two are going to fight. My prediction is Punk gets beat up, gets the win, but it's essentially going to set up him and Ricky Starks because I think that's the money for him and Team Taz.
Agreed. I don't know. So I guess are they not going to roll Hook into anything right now? Is Hook just going to be on the sidelines until he's ready to go?
I would hope.
I kind of wanted to see Hook and Punk a little bit, maybe just to have a quick 6-minute match or something like that. But maybe they're saving him to get him more trained and more in a line to go forward with. But I think you're right.
I think if he doesn't come in like his dad and like just submission and tap people out right off the bat, I think he loses this whole aura around him, being Taz's son. If he's not ready to go and you put him in with somebody that is ready to go, I think you see through the holes. It could happen.
That's fair. Yeah, and maybe that's going to be the desired approach, is just have Hook menacing on the sidelines, waiting, and then they finally unleash him. Maybe he turns into like a final boss type thing of the hidden gun or whatnot for Team Taz. Whatever that's going to be setting up for, we'll see. But I think that could be the case.
Oh, there was a bug. Sorry. Darby Allin against Sean Spears. I almost got it. We have one fly left in this house. Between the vinegar set out and trying to catch them and stuff. I don't know. It's been cold enough that flies should be dead around here in the morning, but I don't know. One freaking fly.
Well, I will tell you my problem with spiders around here. I had one that tried to build a web on my one outdoor table into the chair that I had next to the table. So that was an interesting find when I went to sit outside earlier today.
Little Miss Muffet sat on her tuffet.
I almost sat on that spider's head. He would have been squished if it wasn't for my foot. So he would have got it from my ass or my foot. It wouldn't have been good for him.
Nice.
But anyways.
Darby and Sean.
I mean, it was a good match. And I guess I'm not big on Sean Spears overall. I think the chairman is an interesting foil to things, but I think the meat of this was FTR coming out and really wiping the face paint wiping. I think on this angle, it was a nice touch. That's weird that it's refreshing because it seems like such a basic thing you could do, but wiping the paint off of Allen and Sting's face is so disrespectful. And I don't really remember it ever being done before by anybody.
Years ago, they've done something like this, and I'm like, oh, so they kind of, go back in the annals and pull this out. I think it was perfect. I really do. At first, I thought they were gonna, because it was clearly water, and I thought, don't pretend like this is like acetone or whatever. Wow. Yeah, like his face is gonna, and they're like, no, they just said they're wiping the paint off. I'm like, okay, at least they're going there and they're not trying to burn them or whatever. They just made it. Yeah, so I was happy about that.
I thought they were going to go a chloroform route, and I'm like, that is clearly a water bottle. Because he just shoved it in his face like it was going to like suffocate him.
Right.
And then it ended up being the face paint. And I was like, okay, thank God.
Yeah.
Maybe that helped with my enjoyment of the segment was they didn't go the route of, hey, we're going to chloroform you to win the match. But
Aquafina now making chloroform.
Yeah. If you have enough of it, maybe it knocks you out. I don't know.
Right. Well, if you keep an Aquafina bottle in your car way too long in the summer, apparently something happens with the plastic and you actually end up drinking plastic pieces or something. Did you ever hear this theory?
Well, I have heard this theory, but what I've heard of it, it happens when that happens and once the expiration date occurs for the water, because the date is for the bottle, not the actual water inside of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because water does not go bad, people.
No, it doesn't.
So
unless it's in the sun or it's been in a bottle for 18 years.
I don't leave drinks in my car long enough for them to cook anyway. So I don't know these people that leave shit in their car all the time. Why they just go back and drink it after a month? Well,
I
clean
don't.
your car, first of all.
Well, I will say I do leave bottles in there, but it's usually drank within a day, so it's not like sitting in there for a month and a half.
Right.
And I'm just like, oh, this tastes good. Let's just insert these chemicals in my body and hope for the best. But
Right. All right, Jenks, this is what definitely you want to talk about again, too. This is what you've been foaming at the mouth for. Brian
we're getting
Danielson and Kenny O freaking Mega.
the money match. First of all, Don Callis being called a piece of shit was just fantastic.
Right.
And it wasn't like once; it was like 5 times. So I was great with that. This was a fire promo. Loved it, and I love it's not for the title, so Kenny can lose. This opens up so many possibilities next week that it's just, I'm ready for it.
I thought they were going to instantly, for the longest time, meaning 2-3 weeks that Brian Danielson has been on AEW, I thought, man, they're going to give him this title right off the bat, and I think it's the wrong thing to do. Well, throw the title out the window because you don't need it. You don't need it. He can, like you said, Kenny can take this loss, and then it can bring somebody back that now has had a baby and has been lingering, the number one contender, to do the big pop and give maybe some help, because Brian might not have some help, and it could lead into the next pay-per-view of Kenny most likely. I think it's now time that we say it's most likely time for Kenny to lose his title. He's done enough. Now there's enough established stars there to hand it off, and he can work with, again, younger people or established stars for a long time, like Brian Danielson. And I'm referencing Adam Hangman Page, if you guys have not caught on yet.
Yeah, and I think his debut is next week. I think he comes back at one of these Earth Bash shows, probably after the Omega Danielson fight, because I think there's going to be an attack by the Elite. If Brian Danielson wins, I think they attack.
Yes.
I agree with your assessment. Kenny Omega does not need to be champion anymore. There is talent out there, but I think the money matches don't need to be title matches, like AKA Omega versus Danielson.
Yep.
Does not need to be a title match. So I think they build it up. I think next week, if I believe it will happen, Danielson beats Omega, I think it sparks that, am I good enough? Can I do this? And that's what starts playing in his head for when he loses the title potentially to Page at the next pay-per-view. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna anything else on Dynamite. I mean, we kind of ran through everything. I was gonna skip to Rampage and then come up with an assessment of what's going on next week with AEW, because I think there's a huge shift for AEW, and we've just both hinted on it.
Yeah, I would say the only thing I'm going to touch on is they're addressing the Suzuki incident head on.
Yeah,
kind of like, and they're bringing Archer in, so that's going to be a hell of a tag match next week.
Yeah,
Suzuki and Archer versus Kingston and Moxley, but we can move on. I just wanted to call that out.
Yeah, that's another one that I'm just spitting all over the place for. Like, I'm excited. Rampage was Rampage. Nothing super terrific. I don't think the Bucks and the Lucha Brothers and Butcher and the Blade had the best chemistry in the world. Again, reference us a couple weeks ago. Even though Santana and Ortiz made the save, Mr. Michael Jenks, you see the foreshadowing, right?
Oh, I see it. And I think this is the best way to do it. They're both faces at this point. So when's the turn going to happen? Or is it friendly competition that's coming up?
I hope it's not friendly competition. I hope that Santana Ortiz become the bastards that they are.
Yeah. Their heel work, I mean, they are a fantastic tag team. I love them as heels. So I hope this happens. And this continues, I believe, now it's escaping me, but in Impact, this continues a feud that they had an Impact for a little while. So LAX, I don't know why I can remember the faction name, but the whole LAX thing, it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Anna and Bunny, essentially just apparently Penelope Ford is the badass of all of them with the brass knucks. Match was okay. AJ gets the win, but I don't know where they're going with this. I really don't. Just a filler.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that AJ's back in the fold from her injury, so that's great. I think right now it's that underlying sub-card women's feud that's going on, which is great. They need more of those. They need to start building up that women's division. So I think that's where it lies right now. Strange alliances though happening in that one.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't care about Orange Cassidy and Matt Hardy. Him being Matt Hardy, I don't know, Brutus the Barber Beefcake wanting to cut hair. This guy, clearly a plant in the corner, the biggest Orange Cassidy I've ever seen in my life. Orange Cassidy doesn't have a ponytail, and then when they were shaving his head, they shaved the side of his head. The money shot on shaving a head is the one right down the middle. And when Jack Evans was just cleaning up his sides, I'm like, clearly Orange Cassidy's not losing his hair when this happens.
No, it's going to be Matt. And honestly, that makes no sense. I mean, Matt's the only one that has really changed up hairstyles or anything like that over his career. So him going bald and becoming a maniacal deviant that he would be, Lex Luthor type, if you will. That could be what's happening here with the the Hardy family
party
offer. So yeah, whatever it is. So I'm not too sold on it. I kind of wish Orange Cassidy was outside of this. I mean, it's a great feud with a legend, if you will, but I want Orange Cassidy to do a lot more than the HFO. So we'll see what happens with that.
Britt and Ruby were the money this week in the ring. Unbelievable. Calling her a bitch, saying you didn't run away from reference WWE, you were fired. That was the downfall about this is, if it wasn't Britt holding the title, I would love to see Ruby hold it. The downfall one more is this is a one-off, I think, and I don't think Ruby wins. It's sad because I would wave the Ruby flag all the time.
Yeah, I think there's something that's there's going to be definite interference in this match that's going to affect Ruby in it. The promo was fire between the two. Ruby going back and forth. I think Ruby is almost back to is almost matching her promo skills in a sense. Britt's still top of the line in the AEW women's division. Sorry about that. I think Britt's still the top talker in that entire division, but I think Ruby could give her a run for her money at some point. I think she just got to get her feet underneath her, transitioning out of WWE system. So,
yeah. And then, which was dubbed the main event, and we've talked about this before, the best match of Rampage is always the first match. The main events have always been subpar, maybe until next week. Miro against Fuego del Sol, and it really was never a match. What came out of this, though, is that Miro doesn't want Fuego's car, but Sammy wants Miro's belt. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Let's do it.
I think that after we thought, let me say this real quick and then I'll let you give your piece. I think after we thought about it for the longest time, I think Sammy is the right one to take the title from Miro.
Yeah, and to that point, I'm disappointed. I seem to be disappointed in myself a lot. I didn't see that. I don't know why I didn't see that coming. Sammy would be a perfect one. They're going with the Fuego. He's been involved in it. Sammy and Miro is going to be money when it happens. I don't know when it's going to happen. If it happens at Full Gear, I don't know what. Miro and Sammy is going to be a great match. So I'm excited for that one. Fuego is now, 1 in 455?
I think.
Okay. And he lost the car. So that I can't imagine his wife is too happy about that. But
well, he left the keys in his mouth. So
he did.
Do you think he goes back and says, hey, man, I did put the keys in your mouth. I do want them back after I camel clutched you?
Well, let me say this. If you put your car on the line for a football game, would your wife be happy about it?
Let's talk to my wife about being happy about anything I've done this weekend.
Yeah, let's not pose that question right now. But let's get through this weekend's shenanigans that you had, and then we'll talk about it. But
Yeah.
So I
So next week, 4 hours of AEW, 2 on Wednesday, 2 on Friday. Jenks, this is what I was referring to. I think this coming week, as much as it's not pay-per-view, I think this is huge for AEW, and I think we see a lot of sort of change in the atmosphere at all. You've made reference to Bryan Danielson and Omega not being a title match, but it's going to lead to a title match. You have Britt against Ruby. You have CM Punk against... I think there is a massive change going on in AEW that I don't know how you can make them explode more, but it's going to explode more with everybody else there. And there's possibilities in the next couple weeks of more huge names trickling over.
Yeah, and they're doing it right because they've built up the talent that they know will be their flag bearers to have them run with the main product, the titles and all of that. And now they're setting up for these other talents that are coming in to have the one-off matches, the underlying matches to build the card. That is how you should be doing it. Again, I'm not a booker. I don't run professional wrestling organizations, but those side matches like Omega and Danielson can help elevate your card to the fullest extent of the law and not be in your title match. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that because your title match can be fire because you've built up those younger stars. That's been one of the biggest things that I've complained about with WWE is they haven't built up the stars to take over the brand yet, and maybe they just don't have the individuals in place that they want. But they should be using the Lashley versus Goldberg feud as a filler, and not in the sense of filler match, but as a builder match to say, look at our card. We have these guys over here doing their thing without the title feuds, and then we have the younger talent building up the titles to get to the legendary status that they could be. So it's changing in the guard, and I think we're going to finally see, the older guys or the more experienced guys are really just building the show out and really helping out, and that's not in a negative light at all. They're going to just have fantastic matches, and these younger talents are going to finally be at the top of the mountain where they should be. So
agreed. And last thing, AEW is giving away these matches for free on cable television, which essentially, it's not free, but underlining, they are giving these away for free, no extra caveat during the month, to grab the fan, knowing that Bryan Danielson, ROH, has become Daniel Bryan, has now become back to Bryan Danielson. Somebody there has lost all the hope of wrestling, but they hear Wednesday in the afternoon, scrolling through social media, holy shit, he's wrestling it's Omega tonight on TV. I'll watch that. You're getting those fans back, which WWE has been losing those fans because of that.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to, you kind of hinted around it to a point, I think it speaks to also not only elevate your TV time and get your drawings in, it elevates your pay-per-view buy rate too, or it has to, because if you think about it, I like how AEW does it. They have a pay-per-view every 2-3 months, whatnot, and then they use their product to have these big one-off matches, but it helps build up to say, holy shit, I just saw what happened on Dynamite or Rampage. I need to buy the pay-per-view. And then you had All Out where, oh my God, everything under the sun happened. And it was one of the best pay-per-views that anybody has ever seen. I have to go buy the next pay-per-view. They're doing it smart. They're doing the build smart. It's fantastic to see the way they're doing it. And I saw some people, the negativity out there. There's some people starting to compare them to WCW. This is not a WCW.
No.
This is nothing like that. They're doing it right. They're not putting these WWE guys in the forefront and just leaving them there. They're using them to build it. Yeah. And now that they've built their stars, they're going to move away. They're going to do it right and move away from the bigger guys being in the title hunt and that being the focus of the show.
I will fight that WCW thing right off the bat. Yeah, they are bringing WWE stars over, but it's not instantly the finger poke of doom or anything like that. Like, Punk didn't run in and get a championship right off the bat.
Exactly.
Bryan's not getting a championship right off the bat. Okay. People are going to say, but Dean Ambrose did. Right. That was the start of AEW. You needed someone to wave that flag. Where has he been around the title hunt in the last year? Oh, wait, he hasn't.
Yep.
He's built those people.
Well, that's it. You go back to Jericho was the first title holder. I know some people were not happy about that. That was ideal. Jericho is an established name in this business, and you're setting up your company. If I'm kicking off a company, I'm putting an established name at the top of my company to build the younger talent. And the Moxley getting a title shot, he hasn't been involved, but he's still, the crowds go nuts for him because he's still having great matches and he's still doing anything he wants. But he's doing it in the best character, the best Moxley character we've seen. This is not Dean Ambrose coming in. This is a whole different person coming in and doing this work. And he's actually living to his potential than what he was doing in WWE or anything along those lines. So I think people forget that, or they just have short-term memory on this. And they're like, oh, they're still WWE guys. Yeah, they need wrestlers. They need talented wrestlers. These guys, just because they're in WWE, doesn't mean they're less talented. They might have been stifled a bit in what they could do, but they are great talents. And why wouldn't you use them to enhance your roster in your industry as a whole, if you will?
I always reference this if you're just getting back into wrestling, but you're a sports fan and you're building, let's say you're going to build a new baseball team with the expansion draft and you can grab anybody, Jenks. Are you taking, I'm going to throw a name out, a AA Raleigh Bishop, or are you grabbing, as much as I am not a huge fan, are you grabbing a Bryce Harper? Or are you grabbing, and just making them be the face of that franchise of the Oregon Baseball Association team, or whatever the hell we're calling it. But you're not grabbing a rookie and saying, here, this is our champion right off the bat. Well, unless you followed them through the indies, and as much as we love our indies around here and everywhere, I don't know every indie person in California. So if you make Bob Perkins the AEW champion once he comes to AEW, you're going to have to tell me a hell of a story right off the bat. And if you don't tell it right, you can lose me.
And to that point, the indies performers, they can be absolute stars at the indie level, but you still have to build a story for people that do not know them or a general audience. If they're mainstream wrestling, and I don't know if that's even the term you call people that like WWE or AEW, but if they're mainstream audience that don't watch the indies or don't go that deep down in wrestling, they're not going to know who Bob from Harry or anything like that. So you can't sit there and be a wrestling purist and say, oh, they're going to be the next WCW because they're using the talent. Yeah, I would be taking Bryce Harper, and then I'd have Raleigh Bishop behind him, developing him so that when Bryce's contract becomes $800 million or whatever it is, comes up, I can let Bryce go and say, hey, Raleigh, step right in and lead this team to promised land, or transition them out as Bryce retires.
Yep.
That's the point, is to continuously have a great cycle of talent coming in, building them up so they can become your established stars. And then they work their way around becoming the legends, and then they can go out. And then you continue with that new talent in those established stars, and you continue forward with it. That was the one thing that doomed WCW, is because they had the talent, they had the stars that they could build up and really take over the brand, but they didn't let them get to that next level because they wouldn't filter out the other individuals, the established stars.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So, do you think Raleigh Bishop knows his name has been mentioned a hell of a lot on a podcast? Or do you think Raleigh Bishop's name has been mentioned up on any other podcast in the last 10 years?
I think might have popped up one or two here. I know 40-year dash. I think we mentioned Raleigh Bishop at one time, maybe. I don't know. Did we? I might have to look into that.
I don't know. I've listened to all of them, so you might have once.
I think he might have floated into the conversation at one point, but shout out to Raleigh. Good job.
Him or Deke Scram.
Him or Deke Scram, or the mayor of Seawolf City, Sean Root.
Ooh.
Which I don't know if I ever told you this, but I ran into Sean Root at a Spirit Halloween store in parts unknown. He was working and sold me a Halloween costume the one year, so that was interesting.
Nice. What were you that year?
What was I that year? I think it was just... No, it wasn't the pimp costume. I think it was just probably just some sort of iteration of Death, or had a black cape or some vampire type thing going on that year.
I was hoping you'd go as Nails.
Oh, see, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I've gone as Jake the Snake before.
Wow.
And I actually ended up
the drunk Jake the Snake or the Christian Jake the Snake?
It was early '90s, so it was probably drunk Jake the Snake. More. So when I was younger, I was a big Diesel fan. Kevin Nash, bring back the WCW kind of thing. I would try to dress up as him for a Labor Day parade that we had around our camp at the time. My father ended up dressing me with an inflatable snake, and I turned into Jake the Snake somehow. Well, that costume was good enough to get me on to be invited by our camp leader to the MDA telethon the next day, and I ended up on TV presenting a check for MDA, dressed as Jake the Snake. So
with Craig Smiley?
It wasn't with Craig Smiley. This is way before Smiley joined the WJET. I think it was Sean Lafferty, to be honest, or Joey Stevens, one of the two. Those in parts unknown, those are local news people and weathermen. Actually, Sean Lafferty and his mustache are just legendary at this point. But yeah, so I ended up on the MDA telethon as Jake the Snake. And there's a picture floating around of me riding in a golf cart with my father driving and a parade of people behind us. I would like to say praising Jake the Snake, but that wasn't the case.
And you went as Diesel. You started as Diesel.
I started as Diesel. I didn't have leather pants, but I had black pants. I had a black tank top, and it turned into Jake the Snake. So
you've heard the story of the English professor dressing up as Jinder Mahal, and then all right, I have to dance around this, and then you had overseas, kind of like Muslims doing trick-or-treating, and John went to the door dressed as Jinder Mahal, and these kids didn't know what the F was going on. And he felt
oh my God.
Yeah, imagine that. Trick-or-treat, and he's Jinder Mahal, and they're Muslim.
Oh, no. Oh.
That's why you don't dress up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
All right, Jenks, we have a lot to cover next week. I think we have some messages that not going to make the show today, but they'll make it next week for obvious reasons because they actually lead into what's going on. So we'll bring some of those messages back from the fans. And I want to set up, prior to Extreme Rules, we'll make some predictions because there's always, we'll do our predictions in 2 weeks. But let's make that an Ask Can Crushers because those are always the filter shows. You just, all right, we're going to promote the hell out of this, that, and the other thing. So we won't cover wrestling as much. We'll really just do hot topics. So in 2 weeks, let's do an all-out Ask Can Crushers. People will send in questions on the email and everything. And we'll get your spin on some of the questions that we've already answered. But, since you're here, we want to know what's in your brain now. Are you up for an all-out Ask Can Crushers? I
definitely am. It might be a little bit scary, though.
Because you can't prep.
Lock Pandora's box. You can't. I don't know what's coming.
Yeah, you don't know. I mean, I get them throughout the week, and I browse them. But it's so much fun when the callers, because we can even have them during callers or send them on the email. It's so much fun because they want to know what's in our brain, and we get tons. I'm telling you, it's unbelievable how Can Crusher Nation responds when I say, hey, it's Ask Can Crusher time again.
Let's do it. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
So, all right. I'm going to let you go, Jenks. I'll wrap up this show because it's so much easier just to have one more teaser and then go through the crap at the end. And I know you have a lot of editing to do, brother.
Oh yeah, I got more work to do on my end. Back to the other podcast now.
Whoop
So
whoop! And then don't forget, you'll be part of the Martinez Lounge, and then a 4-pack here shortly. That we're just gonna have to start a network.
We might need to, which is funny because I hinted at that in our 40-year dash podcast.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, yeah. We had a question pop up, not to give away too much, but I hinted at that. So definitely, if you listen to 40-year dash, you can hear that take too.
Because we've also discussed doing a college football one too.
Well, I know my cousin's doing a podcast. It's more history related because he's a history buff, but there's a lot of people doing podcasts, so a network could happen here if needed.
Nice.
So,
we need to do it.
Yeah.
We're joining forces, taking over PBS first, I would imagine, and then
I think let's shoot small. Let's take over our local public television station, and then go from there.
Nice. All right, Jenks. I'll see you next week, brother.
See ya.
Hey, wrestling fans. I am driving home after a long weekend listening to these dumb bastards, Can Crushers. Check out Can Crushers on a podcast near you.
Hey, everyone. This is the juggernaut of professional wrestling, the former Top Prospect Pro Wrestling Champion, the former RWA Heavyweight Champion, the man himself, Mr. No Retreat, No Defeat, John Roden, and you're listening to the Can Crushers Podcast.
And welcome back to Can Crushers Podcast. Guys, you know this is where I wrap up the show, but holy moly, the thoughts that Jenks and I had off air before I recorded this third part, the closing part of Can Crushers Podcast, there could be some big works in the near future, or the future, whenever, between us, the 40-year dash, the upcoming Martinez Lounge, and a 4-pack of bullshit beer. I forget the 4-pack of whatever podcast that they have. Jenks, I'm sorry. Cody and Mooch, I'm sorry. So yeah, this is some great work we have going on here, guys. Again, as we said during the podcast, we are going to do Ask Can Crushers in 2 weeks. Start getting the questions in. Send them in via email at cancrushers69@gmail.com. Any questions you guys want, we will answer them. That's awesome. We'll get the spin on Jenks' thought of anything you've even answered before. We'll get Jenks' thought on it, and maybe my thought has changed as well. Don't forget, we're doing the book, a Dynamite, Raw, SmackDown, whatever you want to do, Rampage, by calling in, because we love hearing your voice on those ones. It's 814-299-6687. Again, if you call from your cell phone or whatever, it's a free call. It's going to use your minutes. You know, you're calling from a landline, and you're in California. Yeah, there's going to be some long distance calls if you don't have long. All applies. Rates, right, and all that stuff applies. But call in. It's a voicemail. You'll hear me say "Welcome to Can Crushers" or something like that. I don't remember the voicemail right now. But you'll hear the beep. You have as much time as you want. Just leave us a story, leave us a booking, throw your Ask Can Crusher question in on there. I have not had anything to drink. It's morning of Sunday. But just get them going, and we'll throw them up on the line. You heard one of them earlier today about somebody driving home from work. That was just a shout out for us. But if you want to ask a question, that's cool. Again, 814-299-6687 is that phone number. You can find us on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. They're all Ask Can Crushers 69. Guys, we've had a great time. I've loved having Jenks on the show. I hope you guys like him too. He's a great guy. He loves wrestling. We knock it out of the ballpark every week. Again, if you're on Apple Podcast, give us a 5-star rating, write us a review, share our podcast, let everybody know you're listening to Can Crushers and you love us. We're on Spotify, we're on iHeartRadio, we're out there wherever podcasts are. Guys, I love you, Can Crusher Nation. Continue to grow with us. Continue to tell people about us. It takes 1 second just to, once you see that our podcast is up on Facebook, just hit the share button and say, hey, give this wrestling podcast a listen. You might like them, or you might think they're both idiots. Whatever. We take it. We love it, because we love Can Crusher Nation. Again, guys, call in, Send us some emails. We'll do all that. We have Ask Can Crushers in 2 weeks. Next week, we'll be deep diving a fantastic show of AEW 4 hours. Until then, and I have to teach this to Michael Jenks so he can come on the show. Remember, just because you're trash, it doesn't mean you can't do great things. It's called a garbage can, not a garbage cannot. Make sure you stay tuned this Wednesday for a very special spotlight. I'm going to leave it at that. It is amazing.